Morning, Willie.
Morning.
What's going on?
Oh, sleepy.
Now, according to the weather, it is 105 degrees in Mississippi today. What are you doing wearing long sleeves?
It's cold inside, but it's extremely hot outside.
Oh, okay. See, David let you put the AC on.
Yeah. Kobe has to have the AC blasting or he gets hot.
Oh, I got you. All right. So what else is going on? How's your trading been?
Good.
I know.
There's been a lot of easy runners lately.
Yeah, it has been a little bit easier than normal. All right, welcome everybody. Everybody hear us okay? All right, cool. Hey, Kellyanne, how you doing? What's going on? Hey, Clement, what's going on? Mr. Cavell, how you doing? All right, we got a packed house today. Good stuff. So, folks, as you know, we like to do this every a week or two. We're going to start doing this on a daily basis for later on once we get the right format down for the traders inside our Click Fund, which is our hedge fund where our students trade. So we're going to be doing this a little bit more often, starting probably in October. So once we get the format down, in the meantime, we're kind of playing around with some stuff and making sure everything is good. And tomorrow we'll have Paul on. You know, Paul is the guy that does our swing trading service. So we'll have him on bright and early, and we'll be going over, you know, all the stuff that Paul does. Now, swing traders, they got a little bit of a different routine in the morning, but that's how it goes. So first few things, let's take a look at Mother Market. Then let's get you know, a gauge of what's happening, you know, with some stocks, and then we'll get ready for the day and see what we can do. All right, hold on one second. Let me share my screen here. And let me know when you see it.
Got it.
You're in, Willie?
Yep.
All right, cool. So, well, I guess first things first, let's take a look at the market. So the market right now is just kind of in a consolidation, a little bit of a consolidation zone. That's very normal after such a, you know, we got this big V-shaped bounce, and we broke out the highs, and now we're kind of chopping around, and so the action sometimes will feel a little nasty, but we haven't really been going anywhere per se. Now we did see some weakness in a lot of different stocks yesterday, and so we'll see how, you know, if that leads into anything. But you know, we saw a big dump in like Apple, and there were quite other. You never really see Apple make 4% moves, or really even a candle like that. So those are some of the things that we'll have to watch out for. As you know, the IWM was a little bit weaker yesterday than, you know, the Russell 2000. So one of the things that's happening is the S&P is consolidating, and the Russell's just gone straight up. It hasn't taken a rest yet, and so one of the things that you always have to do is now we'll have to see how does it react to this kind of big extension that's been going on with it. Does it come back down to the bottom of the range, or does it start to consolidate like the S&P 500? That'll kind of give us a tell on really what's happening, because on a longer-term basis, you can kind of see we've got a much bigger, this is essentially what we'd call like a topping pattern per se on a long-term basis. It's been happening since 2004. Now, the beauty of a topping pattern is that, you know, oftentimes if you just break highs, then no longer is it a topping pattern, right? It's a break of range. But, you know, the action has been more of a topping pattern. You got your moving averages starting to roll over and things of that nature. So something we'll need to keep an eye on is what goes down with this. This is what kind of took down the market last time we had a flush, and we've had a really nice kind of straight up bounce. Now we need to see how we react. Do we get back down to these levels? Do we consolidate? Or do we go and make a test of yearly highs? You know, that'll give us some different clues. So when I'm looking at the markets, I usually more do this on Sunday. I always kind of make a bullish, a bearish, and then kind of a most likely scenario of what's going to happen in the markets, and that'll tell us how to adjust our scans, and also for me, how to adjust my risk parameters. And so what I mean by risk parameters is that you have portfolio risk, and then you have risk per trade that you take on a trade. And so depending on the scenario and cycle of the market, my risk per trade and also portfolio risk in general increase or decrease. And so that's one of the ways that I hedge against market weakness or things of that nature, or just a digestion. As if the market is a big go, maybe I want to risk $1,000 per trade, meaning if I get stopped out, I could lose $1,000 or $800. And I change it depending on risk and probabilities. Each setup you have to have a measure of the probability of the pattern, and then of course your risk. And then I start to decrease it as the market either gets choppier in distribution or if we get in rundown phase. So it's very important to kind of get a gauge of what's going down. So let's take a look at some stocks that I'm watching, and we'll take a move from there. So, you got anything that you like in particular first, Willie?
I was just looking at the gappers. That's what I like to look at.
So you're saying you didn't do your nighttime scans?
No, I did. There's a lot of I like YY, UEPS. For YY is one you can talk about.
All right, hold on. Why I got so many lines in this bad boy? All right, so what do you like about this bad boy?
Flat top breakout. It's a new high.
YY has a Sensei flat top breakout here. I actually tried this one yesterday, and we were talking about this in the trade review yesterday after the market closed. The reason it probably didn't work is anytime you go into a breakout and you're up 3 days in a row, it's very hard to push through it. Even though it's not overbought or anything like that, typically you just don't see the breakouts happen after already like a $7-8 move. So it may need a day. It may break out anyways just because the market's hot. But that's one of the reasons I kind of faded off yesterday, because you can't. If you're gonna break resistance and you're gonna break a strong resistance, then you need power behind the stock. And stocks get their power and their oomph from consolidations and coils and bases. Those bases and those resting periods give stocks the power they need to break over resistance. And the whole point of resistance being resistance is what? That it frickin' resists. And so it may need another day. But yesterday it did sell off a little bit, so we'll keep. It's still on watch, but I suspect that's why it didn't go yesterday.
Yep.
What else you got?
This one Saeed found. It's called UEPS. It had earnings a couple days ago, and it looks like it's about to test the earnings highs. UEPS. Yep. So the earnings were 2 days ago.
Ah, okay. I got you. That one's not so bad. It kind of looks like that stock that we were playing the other day, Tube.
Yep.
After the earnings, it had a day rest, and then it, busted loose again.
Yeah, usually.
Tube is also sitting around.
If it tests the earnings breakout highs, it'll usually pop through there for a good day trader pretty quickly.
What else?
As far as gappers go, this TIBX,
Oh, before we get into all that fun stuff, this one looks like FSLR looks like we do have a flat top breakout here. I tested it yesterday. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the fifth test. So you talk about a pattern that's come back since March. Now this is going to be one of those tricky ones. It's a really well-known stock. It's it's watched by a lot of people, but this one typically doesn't run that well if you chase it on strength. So this is one of those ones. I'll be watching it this morning. If we get like an early morning dip on it, and then those lows hold, and I see some type of pattern like a 1, 2, 3 pattern or some type of reversal pattern intraday, I think that'll be probably what sends this bad boy, up to the $75 range or so.
All right.
Dun 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 dun. Oh, yeah, that one. Dun, 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 dun. GMCR. So this one is also taking a breather after that big earnings pop.
Flagging a little bit, it looks like.
Yeah, so we're just kind of in a little bit of a range here, but it looks like we're back. I mean, it looks like it's done resting for the most part. I would assume that in the next day or two, this one will also start its, new trend. You can see it's starting to make a little bit of a base here if you're looking at like a 30-minute chart or something like that. Right? You can use this to kind of monitor your levels, and so that'll show you a much easier way to manage your risk and see what's going on. I like to whip out that 30-minute chart, and then you'll kind of be able to get your zones of where you need to stick your stop loss. Dun 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 dun. What else we got? I've been watching this one for short for days, but it's not ready yet. It's LNG. You see here, it's like it's starting to get vertical after the bounce off the 50-day moving average. The problem is it's not getting parabolic yet, so it's not stretched enough. It's not one thing to just be up $10 or so. You need to start seeing bigger and bigger candles. So its average daily range is like, a couple bucks or so. So when you start seeing like, if it starts to accelerate and you start seeing like $2, $3, $4 days in this, or that's when it'll get frothy. You can see even the volume is starting to just spike up higher and higher and higher. At some time as this is happening, it will get climactic, and then that's when you really want to hit it for a short. But those are really tricky. That's kind of how beta was too. You can't, you got to be really, really careful because they can run a little bit longer than you think. And it's not an easy short unless you start to get like that straight up move. That's why, like a stock like a DGLY or something, it's so much easier to predict the crack because it's getting really, really extended.
Man, yesterday the short on that was so perfect, but no shares.
Yeah, I mean, see the float is pretty low on this bad boy. It's just hard to borrow on this one. I mean, you can get shares of anything in any stock. You just have to have the right broker, and money. But this one was specifically tricky to find just because you don't have much float. You don't have much float, and whatever shares are available, those things are getting reserved. So, guys, how it works is, number one, you got to have some money. You got to have an account at the right broker and stuff like that. But then the second part is get up early and reserve these type of shares. And so if you're a big-time trader, and this is like your type of setup, you may be up at, the butt crack of dawn reserving these shares. Somebody like me that's not necessarily a professional shorter, I'm getting up much, much later. I always miss it. Every time I call it in, they're like, all the shares are gone, and I'm like, what time did our allotment get filled? Because each clearing firm will have like, maybe they have 100,000 shares or 200,000 shares available depending on the stock. Like, man, these shares have been gone since 6 a.m. It's like, well, I just woke up. Shit, it's 8:30. Ah.
What else you got?
Now the market stinks today. Looking at this queue for a potential short. Hold on. This thing is so it was a little bit nasty yesterday, but you see it's starting at like this kind of 83, 84 range. It's like if it gets below this, it's going to come all the way back down to the 70s. So it's been bear flagging a little bit yesterday. It had a big old candle. So maybe I'll be looking at this for either green to red or some type of intraday breakdown or something. But this thing is getting smoked out. Dun, 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 dun. I'm also looking at this GoPro for sure. Usually something like this, it just takes some type of small, I mean, it's up in air, and it has broken out nicely. But now you're also talking about, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days in a row it's up. And really besides this one red day, it's up, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? It's like 14 out of 15 days. When it finally cracks, and usually it just happens, it'll start with some type of news or something like that. Usually there's like, there'll be like a small little catalyst that sets it off. It can be a downgrade, you know, it can be any type of news, a bad article or whatever, and the next thing you know, it'll start getting weak, and then the selling piles in, and once you get a really, really good intraday setup that minimizes your risk, you know, and so that's where, you know, we'll be using our 5-minute charts, and, you know, you start looking at when it starts to break below some levels or something, you know, that's when you want to take it, and then use your 5-minute chart to set your stop loss. But this thing, when it drops, you're gonna see it have like a $4 or $5 candle.
Yeah, that was a crazy run that it went on.
So you just have to. It's one of those things that you have to be like super, super patient because, and you may have to take a couple small shots. So like rubber band shorts in general. This is what we call a rubber band short in our boot camp class, folks. So rubber band shorts for me are the highest reward trades that we do. But they also are the lowest probability. So what that means is, you know, when I'm doing these things, you know, when I'm doing like a rubber band trade, which is a stock that's like super, super extended, it may take 1 or 2 tries. So you take the trade and you may take a 1% loss or 0.5% loss or something like that because, you know, tops in stocks, even short-term, near-term, long-term, they're never like singular events usually. You know, they're usually a process. It takes a process. And so you may never nail it to that exact moment. Sometimes you try it and it may work. Then you may try it again and it works a little bit. You know, you get a couple percent out of it and then it keeps going. But it usually takes a couple shots before you nail the big dump. It's always been like that. And very few times can you nail it on the penny. So most traders, you know, traders typically, they never are. 99% of traders, because they stink, are not resilient traders, meaning if they take a loss, no matter, I see it in my chat room all the time, they take a loss, no matter how small it is, they could lose 30 bucks. They could lose 0.5% of stock. It's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And so, you know, this type of trade is tricky because it's about reward to risk, not necessarily your hit ratio. You know, you may try it 3 times and then finally hit it, but you have to be okay with losing a couple $100 or $100 or whatever it may be, depending on your account size, and then you nail it and you get $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. You know, that's typically how that type of trade works, and that's why I tell a lot of my students to stay away from it, because you can just tell certain students, they're just not ready for that. You know, they live and die on whether they win or won or lost a trade, whether it's a penny or, a dollar. That's just where they are in their process right now. So you don't want them. You don't want to be in that type of trade unless you're okay taking a small loss. Like for me, I personally don't care if I win 30% of the time or 90% of the time. At the end of the day, I just care about how much money I make and what my reward to risk ratio is. How much, if I made 15,000, how much did I have to risk to get it? Essentially is always going to be the key.
That's what, with the rubber band setups, that's what I kind of learned, because I always struggled with those. When I started out, I would always hold them way too long if they didn't work. But they can be dangerous because they obviously have momentum and they have a lot of push behind them. So if you do play one and it goes green to red and then it doesn't immediately flush pretty quickly, you start to think, when should I exit this? You should always be looking for, okay, this didn't work how I thought it was going to work quickly, so I need to start thinking about exiting quickly, because usually the rubber bands, they'll work pretty quickly is what I found. So
yeah, and then there's really two kind of phases of it, and I used to get smoked out on these, is that I always like something like an ice, I always you always kind of try to take them at the open, if you get the setup, and then you'll get a flush in them. But because it's up so much, you're going in for like the much bigger play. But then at the open, usually you'll just get like a straight quick flush. You won't get the all-day drift. And then if you don't cover into it, you can get squeezed. And that's what happens. I mean, this type of setup, and I wasn't in this yesterday, but this type of thing has happened to me a ton of times, where I take an awesome trade at the open and it drops down a couple bucks. And then it just sits there and grinds for like hours. And I keep thinking it's tapping down here for the breakout. And then what's usually happening, though, is it's basing out for a run. Yep. And, you could be down here shorting it at 850, 860, and then boom, it's at 970 because the stock has so much momentum. So you can't hold them that long, at least the morning ones, because this would typically happen to me is I'd take the morning one and then I'd hold it for an extra hour and then it gets squeezed. Usually it's end of day, kind of after 2 p.m. that, the big dump comes in. But the morning ones, you just get kind of like the quick flushes. But there's still usually so much range in them. You can short all the pops and cover down at support till finally at the end you've got enough tests of support to really support a big flush.
Yep.
Dun dun dun. You know what stock looks hot today? I wonder. It was popping up big time yesterday. Let me see here if it's faded off. This SGOC was at like $3.90, $4 pre aftermarket when I was doing the webinar yesterday, and yep. It's faded off a little bit. It's at 350, but you can see this bad boy. What's this?
Oh, wow.
Little band on this thing. So this thing could be hot today. It's still gapping up, so it's close to 315, so it's at 360. I think this one will be in play. You can see, check out its daily chart. This thing is got momentum. What's this little band that's on here? Ooh, bastard. Huh. What's that little sucker? Oh, well. Oh, man, where did my colors go? Shit. See that, Willie? They're gone. Oh well. So we'll keep this one on list. What else you got, Willie?
TIBX, TIBX, gapping.
So stock like this, usually, so you got your levels right here. So if you can stay above these kind of key levels here on the daily, then you have a chance to get to your next levels here. This stock in general, you can see it has the possibility of making multi-dollar moves. So that's one of the things you always want to see is if a stock gets earnings or a PR or something like that, does that even have the capability of making sharp moves? Otherwise you're just it's a lost cause. That one looks all right. Anything else? Turn on this trade ideas. MITK is popping. So this is right now these like $3, $4, $5 stocks are the ones that are really, really running hot. So this one, you can see this one's already making a run to 454 pre-market. So that kind of takes us right into this zone, which is actually a resistance spot. So one of the things is, stock can have momentum and it can start spiking on some news or something. But if it can't clear its key levels on the daily, you end up getting into a really, really weird zone. So we'll keep an eye on this as, anywhere between 350 and 450, it's got range to move. Then it's going to have some resistance here, kind of between this area over here. And so we'll have to watch it really closely. As the best plays are clean plays, meaning that they're breaking out on all time frames and they're clear of resistance. But I do like this one also. Dun, 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 dun. STXS is making a small move pre-market. It's not on much volume yet, so that'll be something to watch. But this is a stock that it's very important to understand which stocks in the past have made big moves. What are momentum stocks? And so like this is a stock that we've played before just a year ago. That was $1 and ran to $10 in a handful of days. Now, does it mean that's going to run to $10? No, but type of potential. That's the key. And so you got to remember what it did in the past. Is this a stock capable of making big moves? Has it done it? Because there are certain stocks that are like cult stocks. They have a PR out or they have something come out, and it just becomes one of those things where everybody and their uncle piles into them, and you get these really, really monster moves. So this is a stock that had, this is a biotech stock that had some type of bad news out. So, but we'll keep an eye on this one. As you can see here, whatever FDA blah 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 came out on this thing, it's taken it down below its 52-week lows. So that's a clean breakdown. And you can see even if it has pops on an intraday basis, it's just going to run into all this resistance. And so that can be a good stock for potential shorts. We'll keep an eye on that one. MTRX is another one. And I'll have to see if this one has any volume, because typically it does thin out at times. But you can see here it's been stuck at resistance, but this gap will kind of take it all the way. It'll be a clean breakdown. Dun 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 dun. Sienna was, when I woke up, making all sorts of sharp moves, but it's made its way back here.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this one acts, because if it fades back down, you're talking about a stock that's really clearing, all levels of resistance. So it's still in a spot where we want to be watching this one. And this tends to be a little bit more of a liquid, well-known name. You'll probably be able to get shorts on that. A lot of the shorts that, we like to play, it's like, only a handful of brokers will have them. You never want to be, you don't want, if you're a day trader, you can't day trade at Ameritrade or E-Trade anyways. Your fills are going to stink. They're going to sell off your order flow to all sorts of HFTs and algos and things of that nature. you just can't date, and you can't move with speed. But the big thing is there's no shorts in them. You can never short at anything. I mean, I traded with Ameritrade for, a decade. And last time I was using them, I was trying to short Sears Holdings, which is, I mean, who can't short Sears? And they won't even, they won't even have the shares available. So also this SL, oh, this one don't have any volume. Should have had a volume filter on this sucker.
There's not a whole lot of gappers going on.
No, I mean things will pop up. Like Taser's starting to make a move on some type of news pre-market. This one's been a nice trender of recent. So, we'll keep an eye on this one also. I think it's not ready just yet, but a couple more days, and this LGEN will be, a good rubber band short. It's not ready yet. It hasn't gone parabolic just yet. It's getting there, though. You can tell this one is kind of setting up for the grand finale.
Which one is that?
LGEN.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, it just broke out of its flag, so, even though it looks extended, it's not, because it broke its flag, it went up for a few days, then it flagged, went up for a few days, then it flagged. So that's a pretty orderly, that's an orderly run, because every time you have a few days, you have a consolidation. But, watch this thing. If it starts getting to 15, 16 bucks, something along that end, all of a sudden you'll have a pretty extended stock. But you can see it's just running on air right now. Oh, hold on. MEI, this one is breaking out to highs too. This one could be a potential play. You can see 38.68 is its 52-week highs. So we're already kind of getting towards their pre-markets. This will be probably one that we'll keep an eye on. What volume settings do you have on your trade ideas? Usually to filter out the moves of pre-market.
I use the exact same layout that you use. That it just, let's see what it.
Oh, okay. I changed my volume settings a little bit.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I'll send you the new layouts.
Okay.
I forgot. I was testing around with them like all weekend. Actually, I talked to Dan. He said they've got some new you got something that they call channels or something like that. So it's like much easier to make the scans.
Yeah.
So I got to play around with it.
Yeah, I saw that, but I never played with it either.
I like trade. You can do like a lot on trade ideas. It just happens to be that it's like super complicated to use. Yeah. All of a sudden, you got to have like an engineering degree to use it, but it's like really powerful. So the scans that Dan Merkin made. Dan Merkin is the CEO of Trade Ideas. So he's been on and off in our chat room and a friend of ours forever. So he knows how I trade. So he made me some really, really good scans. But as over the last couple of years, I've changed my trading style. Every year I change my trading style. We're momentum traders, but some years we're shorting a lot. Some years we're buying pullbacks. Some years we're buying breakouts. It all depends on what works and also just kind of your natural evolution as a trader. So the stuff that he made for me now, some of it I can't use as much. I need to change it. So I got to hit him up because you need like an advanced degree to really fiddle around with that thing.
Yes, it's easier just to have someone make it for you. It's not fun to me to sit around and try to make those things.
Hey, Dr. Tim, Mr. Weinkraut, how you doing? Hey, I was supposed to. Mary Beth's been bugging me about this. Hey, will you do in the next couple of weeks a webinar with us? I always forget, we've had so many of our students come on, and you're like the best trader out of the group, and I always forget to have you on. But then I always feel bad asking because you're an actual adult. Usually I get the kids to come on, and I waste their time. Hey, Mike, how you doing? Mike says, what scan criteria do you typically use for different times, pre-market, midday, aftermarket? Mike, so for pre-market, or early morning, you want to be scanning for like ORBs, so stocks that are moving that can do any one of opening range techniques. So whatever your playbook is for the open. I'm essentially looking for either quick pullback buys, ORBs, or some type of range break that'll be happening in the first 15, 20 minutes. That'll be just for momentum. But I don't run any scans at the open. I'm just trading because you can't trade and scan at the same time. It's like nearly impossible. Then midday, come lunch, what I'm doing is I'm taking all the scans and I'm looking for like straight day-long consolidation plays, either to the downside or upside. Then at night it's a lot more. That's really where the main homework comes in. And so, I'm running for 4% breakouts, doing a go-to list, searching for momentum stocks. I got some pullback scans that I like to scan for, pullbacks to moving averages, breakout pullbacks. I like that type of play a lot. That's pretty much it. I don't have anything too complicated to use. For my nighttime scanning, I use TC2000. And then actually most of my stuff, even during the day now, is with TC2000. If I have something that I get better ideas from trade ideas, but it's more complicated to use. So it's like it requires multiple monitors and stuff like that, because you got to have like the trade ideas running on one, and then you're charting on another, and then your brokerage. I usually don't like to do that, or I'm traveling, so I can't run it all the time because it takes up too much space. It needs its own monitor.
He said he would do it.
All right. Hey, Dan, ClickFund is our hedge fund where our traders trade. And so it's essentially, we have our own technology that we built in called AppTrade that was developed by a gentleman by the name of Chaim Bodek. He's like a genius with like order routing and HFTs and stuff like that. So he's built us a very special platform, so we get a really good fills and things of that nature, the routing and everything the way we want. And the idea behind ClickFund is it's a spot for our traders, our students, to go in and trade, and so they can come in there and you have actually risk managers and stuff that put parameters on your account so that you don't blow up. And you have people kind of looking at your progress and things of that nature. So, we have a risk on everybody in terms of how many shares they can trade at a time, how much money they can lose in a day, all of these type of things. And then we start to progress people up. One of the things that you notice is that, nobody can really trade size or things like that. If you want to trade like bigger size, you can't just do it all at once. You can't have $3,000, $4,000 and then expect to make $2,000, $3,000 a day and trade big size and just get access to some leverage. There are brokers out there that'll do that, but that wasn't the point of our hedge fund. It was to actually build traders. And so we start them off at small size, and then every couple weeks, as they're profitable, we start raising their parameters. So you go from 300 shares to 500 shares to 700 shares to 1,000 shares, and then we start adding more cash and capital to their accounts. So they might be trading, say, max $25,000 or $20,000 at a time, and then every couple weeks, as they're profitable, we start adding more capital to what they could trade. So the hopes is that, like somebody like Mary Beth, she might trade a $500,000 account. Mine is usually, I got 2 in ClickFund. I keep $200,000 accounts. I suck at size. And then, people like Harsh and some of these guys, they'll have like 100,000, 80,000. And so we just try to slowly build them up. You ever talk to Lucas Glass, Willie? He seems like he's he's one of our new traders. He seems like he's kind of hitting his stride. He's starting to have a lot of $1,000 days, but he also loses. He also likes to give it back. He might be a guy to keep an eye on.
All right.
Sylvia, it's an oxymoron. Which broker do you use in ClickFund? I own it. It's where we trade. There is no. We don't go through anybody. It's our own. And the commission is 27 cents for 100 shares. We do everything per share. For new traders, you cannot, if anybody that's a new trader, if you have less than $50,000 in your account and you trade like regular stocks, not OTCs, like, 1 penny stocks, you have to get per share pricing. And it's got to be cheap, because if you pay per trade $8, $9, I mean, if you do 100 trades, it's $1,000. At ClickFund, you just pay for the shares that you trade. So if you trade 50 shares of Google, you're going to pay 13 cents. And if you trade 500 shares of GMCR or whatever, you're going to pay 500 times 27 cents. So you're going to pay like $1.40. And so you just pay. But the beauty of it, why that is that, say you buy 2,000 shares of something. Yeah, you'll have to pay $5.40, so it'll seem like it's pricey, even though it's not. But the beauty is this, like when I'm in some of these momentum stocks, you may see me have 2,000 shares, then I'll sell 1,000, as I get, say, 20, 30, 50 cent profit. Then I'll sell 500. Then I'll sell 300. Then I'll sell 200. Then I'll sell 100. Then I'll sell 50. I'll scale out even by the 20 shares if I have to, because it doesn't cost me anything. Because I'm going to have to pay it regardless, because I'm only paying for the shares that I sell. So, that's kind of some of the things that, to go into it. And then we have different ways to route the trade. So there are free routes. The problem with free routes is this. We've used in the past when we were at some other brokers, and even when we started ClickFund. So there are free routes out there like LAMP and some of these other routes. The reason that somebody would give you free route or a free exchange to route your trades from is that they short your plays. That's how they make money. So the reason it's free and they let you go through their route and they fill your order is because they're going to take the other side of the trade. And all brokers know this. Traders suck. And it's not 5% of traders that make money. It's probably less than that really make all the money. So they know that if there's 1,000 traders taking their route and they don't charge, so if they don't charge, they're getting what they call stupid flow. So behind the scenes, they have good flow, bad flow, toxic flow, stupid flow. And so they want the retail traders that are trying to save the money. So if the route is free, they take the other side of the trade because they can see all the orders. So if you got 1,000 people buying XYZ stock at XY price, they take the other side of the trade and short the same amount, and they take it against you because they know on average that all those traders lose. And so just by the rule of averages that traders lose, they're going to make money. And so that's why the route is free. So now if you can route through less toxic environments, and then the other thing is they'll let you come in and they'll let the HFTs and algos and all sorts of people run through their routes. You know, if you find routing, that's why we have Chaim on board. You know, Chaim has built our own routing and things like that, and so it's non-toxic. There's nobody taking the other side of the trade. You know, things of that nature that are just pushing you down. We used to feel the trades. Like, you know, Mary Beth busted a route before, and when we were with Lake Street Trading, they wouldn't let us use the route anymore because she was going on a hot streak, and they were taking the other side of the trade, and we were using it because it was a free route, and she busted the route. You know, she had bowled them over so many times because they were shorting her plays, and at that time, Mary Beth was very brazen. So she would just, if she sensed that there were orders in front of her, she would break the resistance by just doubling up her order, and all of a sudden now now that route is getting smoked out on their trades. You know, she makes 50 grand, they're going to lose 50 grand, and so we no longer were allowed to use that route forever. You know, because she busted it. So routing is a little bit tricky. Samir. Interactive Brokers is a good broker. I would, I would say that they've got good stuff going on too, and they got good shorts there also. So, guys, I believe that's it. You guys can email me or Mary Beth if you have any information or anything you need on ClickFund or anything like that. Or you can even just go on our website. And just go on the Bulls Silver page, and we'll get that done for you. And we're going to have a breakfast with the Bulls tomorrow with Paul, so we'll get that thing good to go, too. All right, so we got to go. We got to get ready to trade. So everybody, Carlo, we got 200, I believe about 200 traders, 200 or 220, something along. We have about 20, I'd say, like, not dead platforms, but people that tend to do a little bit more part-time trading or swing trading. And so I don't count them as active traders, but they're in there. They got a live platform. So we got 200 active traders and like 220 live platforms. All right, folks, we've got to go, but hey, let us know if you need anything. Take care.
Yeah.
Later, Willie. Hey, Mikey Lars, what's going on?